Hi guys, it's Megan, and let me just tell you, we have been talking about some exciting things in my organization behavior management class. So let's talk about it. So we've been talking about all things like managerial traits and different behaviors and how they affect relationships and how they affect the way that you work and personality tests, and it's been really fun. It's been a really fun week. Okay, so I picked my key term to be terminal values. Let me tell you, I have been researching, and wow, this is a very broad subject, I think. There's a lot of different ways to put it, but before I get ahead of myself, before I get excited, let's define terminal value. So there's a few different ways to do it, to define it. One way that I liked that I saw was terminal value is something that's prized. One website even said that it was think of a desirable dream, the value that is a behavior that leads to that desirable dream. So, oh my gosh, there's a lot. And getting ahead of myself already. Before I get too ahead of myself, another website mentioned that it is a value that something in itself has, regardless of what's going on around it. So it's eternal, it's not changing, and it is it's not influenced, but it influences your instrumental value. So what you do, and then Helpful Professor really had, I liked the way they put it. They had an example that said, if your terminal value is happiness, that's your end goal is happiness, you're going to do things like be more kind to your neighbor, do things for other people, things like that. And I like the way that this ties into Mr. Milton. So Milton and his terminal values, and he wrote his book in 1973. And I'll put all the pictures and stuff on here because I love it. So Milton has a whole bunch that he wrote down. And one thing he said, which I think really ties into that, is that the terminal value is a guide to decision making and ethical behavior. So it can influence your behavior. And I'm trying to think about how this one put it because I did not write down my notes. Oh my gosh. But it'll come to me in a second. So it really guides your decision making, and this made me think because I love rom-coms, and I'm a very visual person. So when I see things, I'm like, oh my gosh, Okay. So I was thinking about The Proposal. All right, hear me out. So she had a business goal because she had a visa and she had to leave the United States if she didn't get renewed. Well, she wouldn't get it renewed in time. So she decided she was going to be fake marry her assistant because she just kind of ran over him, whatever. Well, this, I think, really ties in. So she had the business goal to, she wanted to stay in the company, and that's what she wanted to do. So that was that. Well, that had a terminal goal in it. Whether she knew it or not, she wanted the recognition that came in that company. She was a big shot in that company. Maybe she could get another shot in that company. But I think a lot of it had to play with the recognition she got there. She wanted to keep it. She mentioned how she worked really hard in that company to get where she is. So that led her to make some very unethical decisions. And that was her guide. So she just knew that that's what she wanted. She was not going to give it up. And eventually she comes to a crossroads and she realizes what she has done to keep that recognition and keep her status in the company. And so, because that was her professional goal, or her professional terminal value, was she wanted that. And I get it. You know, you reach that status level, you want to keep it. But she went to lengths for it. And she realizes, she's like, I have been lying to this family, this guy who I just kind of walked over all these years. He's a really great, he actually knows me really well. Like, he knows everything about me, and I know nothing about him. Like, so the more she gets to know him, because they are being questioned and stuff, she realizes the decisions she's made are not ethical at all. And it all comes crashing down. So you want to make sure that your guide to decision making is not spur of the moment, and it is something that will not come back to bite you. Because hers, okay, happy ending, of course, it's a movie, but in real life, if a high leadership managerial position is fake dating their assistant for their terminal value, their personal and professional terminal value, then, you know, probably don't want to work for that company, which she was kind of mean, so they didn't want to really anyway. I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. So with our individual terminal values, it actually lays a foundation for our team. So, you know, individual, whether you have its efficiency or you want to be more recognized, that reflects your team, and you can actually influence others too. And so that leads for your team to have their own terminal goals. So let's say your team wants more recognition. Your team, so maybe they stay later, they start working sooner on projects. You know, everyone's doing their part sooner, more diverse. You know, it could be anything like that. You know, maybe more kindness. Like, let me help you with that. Things, you know, just things like that, which really sets for the company too. So it leads to a company standard. So let's say, oh my gosh, this team has had really good results, and they, you know, maybe they do a little bit more for each other. Things like, just scenarios like that. Well, that builds an organization standard. So then the organization starts, you know, they have their own terminal value of, hey, you know, we want to be more efficient. We want to be more, you know, like looked at as a loving company, you know, as a caring company. So that's where that kind of comes into play. It's kind of like a pyramid, and I'm going to put it on the screen. So I love that part of it, because that's also influencing decision making for each level that you're going on. So it's reflecting, and like company wide, you know, figures and stuff, they'll notice that too, and you might get that recognition that, you know, you're wanting in the first place, maybe even as a team too. So I love that. And okay, another terminal value that I thought of, speaking of Matthew McConaughey, is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. So I don't know if you know about How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It's kind of up there with The Proposal. So she has to lose a guy in 10 days. And I'm pretty sure that he has to make a girl fall in love with him in 10 days or 7 days. Anyway, total opposites. And so hers is recognition, because she wants this spot. Again, it's recognition. And that's kind of something that's going to be maybe even appreciation for what she does, because I know that that's her thing is she wants to get a better position. And he really wants recognition because they're kind of dogging on him. They're kind of, you know, being a little bit mean to him. He's like, okay, I'm going to show you. I can do this. Like, I'm going to do this. Okay. Well, I think that the people that set him up knew what she was doing, actually. So it's kind of like a setup. Maybe they just thought, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting away from myself here. Really back in. So she has this, he really has this need. Let's focus on him. He really has this need for appreciation, for recognition, for what he's about. So he doesn't so much make ethical decisions. He is lying. They're both kind of lying. She's really making some ethical, you know, questionable behavior, because she's still working. She's still part of this organization. It's more of a, you know, it's magazine, so kind of exaggerated and stuff for the movie. But she's really putting the work in to make this guy leave because she wants to write this article and she wants the recognition. She wants that promotion, that higher spot. So she is pulling out the stops. Once again, her ethical behavior and the decisions that she's made to get to this terminal value were not guided in a good way. So I don't think she reached her terminal value. Maybe she I don't know. I don't remember. And look at me quoting movies that I love. But I just thought that was a fun way to like bring it to light because that's how I immediately saw it. So just remember when you're making your own terminal values, you are not getting guided in unethical behaviors to reach them. You want to go in ethical behaviors that are really boosting you, and really, you want to make sure your manager's not faking a marriage with her assistant. That's a good way to do it. Or that your coworker isn't over here acting crazy at a sports game on the Jumbotron too. I could go into so many different things with this. I have a time limit, but I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.